In this module, I will show you how to do a short fade blending from skin to very short hair. So the first thing we're gonna do as we work with this fade is I'm gonna open up the clipper all the way so I can really go in from that skin up. And I'm gonna really bring this up a little higher than I normally do. So the first thing I wanna do is I wanna keep the hair away from the sides and the top. So I'm just gonna section that hair out of the way because I wanna keep some of that length up top. I'm gonna open that clipper all the way up. And then from there, I'm gonna scoop. Now, normally I might scoop a little lower, but here I'm gonna bring it up a little higher. So I'm really bringing that hair up and through. And you'll notice as I'm doing this, I'm bringing the clipper away. So I'm holding it out and I'm holding it very gently and I'm just bringing it through and I'm using the head to tilt so I can really get through there. Now, this is just the initial phase where I'm just removing some of that initial length and then I'll transition it from shorter and then longer and I'll connect and blend it together. So as I come through, I'm really just carving that up and out, going shorter, going right up to that scalp and then bringing it up and out. And again, for this part of the fade, I'm actually going up a lot higher than I may normally go if I want to keep the fade not as high up. So after I've completed the scooping motion, I'm just gonna make sure that the balance is similar, that both sides feel and look the same. And then from there, it's time to start to refine it. So here I'm gonna take my clipper and I'm just gonna scoop up with the hair. So I don't wanna actually go across with the clipper because if I do, I'm gonna put in a strong line and then it's gonna take me a lot more work to blend that out. So I'd rather just scoop up. So here I'm just very gently coming up and through just to blend through that line, knowing that there's still gonna be some weight line to it, but I will transition it afterwards. So now I'm gonna close the clipper halfway, and then I'm gonna continue to blend from skin to the shorter hair. And here I'm gonna continue to scoop up and through just around that hairline to continue to just build that softer line. And then I'm gonna continue just to close that clipper down a little bit more so it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and I continue to scoop up and out to create a really soft transition from no hair to hair. As I work my way up, coming up and through, delicately working through. Once I've completed that transition from a short fade, now I want to refine that line that I've created. So I'm going to take a tapering comb and I'm going to scissor over comb just to begin that connection. As I'm refining this haircut using scissor over comb techniques, I'm using the fine teeth of the comb and I'm driving the shear with my thumb, going over and through to really just clean up that line so it blends and transitions well. As I move my way to the top, I actually want to remove some of the length, but I don't want to cut it too blunt because if I do, it's going to be very heavy, it's going to be very strong. So I'm going to work from the inside out just to point cut that hair out. So I'm going in and I'm just taking that hair and I'm just cutting through to cut some of that length off. I'm less concerned with it being exactly the same, and I'm more concerned with just creating a soft line so that that hair has some movable planes to work with. As I work my way to the crown, I want to make sure there's not too much length there. So here I'm going to take vertical sections and I'm going to get rid of that length around there. And I'm going to continue to cut it softly, point cutting through, removing that length around the crown, carving it through using my shears, going from the mid shaft out. As I continue to do that, when I transition to the front, I want to make sure that that front doesn't have too much length as well. So I'm going to make sure to get rid of that corner that lives in that transition on the hairline. So I just want to soften that up so it doesn't have too much of a point there. So as I round that out, I'm still creating that nice softness, but I'm really paying attention to that transition because otherwise this front gets really long and it gets really heavy. So the length is due to the fact that I usually over direct it. So I want to round that out a little bit so I can really just soften up that corner. So as I transition to the sides, I can continue to take vertical sections. On the right side, my elbow will be up. On the left side, my elbow will be down. And I'm just going to continue to cut through either point cutting or carving out to just remove some of that initial length. Afterwards, I can point cut over comb to just soften up that line and get rid of any of that excess length that doesn't make sense. This particular model has a lot of growth patterns, and I really want to work around those so that the hair is still pliable, but that it really transitions well no matter how the hair is styled. So here I'm just point cutting through, softening up that line, transitioning it so that it actually looks good no matter how the hair is styled. So after I've point cutted all the hair and it has a nice soft movement to the ends, now I need to start to address density. So here I'm taking my texturizing shears and I'm working inside the hair, and here I'm doing it just based on feel. I'm grabbing the hair, I'm feeling where it feels dense, and I'm going in and I'm just softening up all that weight. Now, I'm not worried about the hair sticking out because the reality is at this length the hair is already sticking and moving around. So the goal here is just to create a movement into the hair so that when I place product in it, that I can style it in different ways. I can style it down, I can style it up, I can spike it up, and I can also part it and move it around in different ways. So here, as I work with removing the density, the haircut is going to grow out softly. And after I'm done removing the density on the top, I can then start to work with the density through the sides, as well as the transition on the fade. So now, as I continue to transition to make that fade its best, I can use my texturizing shears to work inside to make that transition so it looks good, working my way through either under the comb or on top of the comb to really soften up that density and make sure that line looks really good as it works from skin to shorter hair. Working my way in, moving that hair around, making sure that that transition looks good from skin fade all the way up to very short hair. Working my way through, refining each hair so that every part of this haircut looks amazing. So as I continue to refine this haircut, it's in the details that gives this haircut the value. So I didn't just go in and cut it. I went in and I tailored this haircut from shorter to longer, dealing with density and length, based on how short I want it to go and based on how much density I want it to remove, so that I can manage this style so that even though it's short, it'll grow out well and there are some styling options.